Leon, I'm assuming you watched the Wyoming and Colorado State game yesterday, and it looked like it was just a typical Mountain West game. So start there with the level of teams in this league and why you think you're getting so many games that come down to overtime or the wire.
Yeah, there is just a lot of really, really good teams, a lot of great players. And I mean, that atmosphere last night was amazing. And man, that was a great college basketball game that came down to, a free throw at the end. And then, what a game. That thing was just back and forth all night, and thought it was pretty well played by both teams and certainly hard fought. And I think it was a little bit of a microcosm of the Mountain West this year with how many good teams there are, because those two teams looked really, really good.
So when you look back at your first meeting with Wyoming, certainly could have gone either way, 3-point win. Why did you guys think you were able to prevail, and what do you think it's going to take this time?
Well, I mean, that was just like what we were talking about. That was another great Mountain West game, and went down to the final possession or last couple possessions, and we were just fortunate to come out on the good side of it. And, but again, like I said, that was two really good teams, and it was just a heck of a battle.
And what do you take from all of your close games on the road? Do you think that helps you going into this game at Laramie on Thursday?
Well, we've certainly got a lot of experience in close games. I don't remember the last time we didn't have one. I mean, it's been remarkable how many close games we played, and that's coming from a guy who's played in a lot of close games over the years. So yeah, there's been a lot of them.
Thanks, Coach.
Sure.
So what's that like, Leon, when you're watching the game and you see the full student section last night and the crowd going crazy, and you're like, well, that's going to be us in 3 days. Crap.
Well, that's what competitors like to be in. I mean, that's I always speak about the atmospheres of playing on the road and the atmospheres in this league. And, it's the best atmospheres on the West Coast. This league has the best atmospheres and the best arenas on the West Coast. And there would be no argument if you watch last night's game, that's for sure.
It seems like during this winning streak, one of the things that's impressed me is just you guys don't panic. And whether the other team goes on a run, particularly on the road, and the building's going nuts, and you guys just hit that next big shot to quiet the crowd and you move on. I mean, what's it take, and why have you guys been able to kind of, especially in these road environments, not panic and just kind of stay even keel?
Well, we prepare for that kind of stuff as much as you can before the thing, and before it happens, you prepare. You heard me talk about that. We prepare for adversity before we hit it. So when we hit it, we kind of, okay, here's what we knew this was going to happen, and this could happen. But it's easier said than done when in an environment like that, you feel the roof's caving in on you. You feel, you feel the momentum of the other team. You feel the energy of the other team lifted. And so it takes a lot, and a lot of togetherness, and a lot of toughness, and a lot of maturity to be able to deal with that.
How much, I mean, I'm sure you guys like these close competitive games. You'd rather be in these huge games and be fighting for 9th place or whatever. I mean, what's it like? And I guess just every game you put the previous one behind you and you look up and there's another huge game on tap. I mean, what's that part of it like, and how much do you guys enjoy this part of the schedule?
Well, like I told the guys, when you guess what's on the other side of the mountains you climb, higher mountains. That's what's on the other side of them. So you don't get to the top of the mountain and then, or climb a mountain and think, okay, well, now it's just going to be this nice, easy valley, because that's not the way it works. We've scaled some tremendous mountains in these last 2 months, and with each one comes, a higher mountain that you have to go on the next one. So that's kind of just the way we look at it and the way we approach it. And because because of what they've done, they've also put themselves in a position to play in these games. That's what you want as a competitor and as an athlete. And, so if you want it and you wish for it, well, you better embrace it when you get the chance to do it.
Thank you.
Rachel, Jordan.
I was looking in the Idaho Statesman archives, and the first evidence I can see of beet juice discussion was in 2016. So I would like to, could you tell me about the background on that? I'd like to know a little bit about it, please.
Yeah, we, I think it was me and Adam Herman and nutritionists and a lot of people, and I've talked to a lot of coaches that, that they consistently, or they play at altitude a lot, and their home courts are at altitude. And I figured out as much as you could, the things that work, the things that don't work, the things that, coaches that have come in and done good things at altitude, the patterns of the guys that have won there and at, not just there, but other places that have that. And, we kind of came up with our own system of what we do. And, through research, beet juice was shown as something that helps you. So if it can help us, and if it can help us 1%, then we've done it. And, of course, San Diego State copied us on that and tried to pub it up, but that's been our deal. Yeah. And it's, for whether it's beet juice or whether it's some of the other things we do, it seemed to help us.
I have to admit that when you guys went to Wyoming the first time, I went to the gym for a women's game, and there was a printed out sheet, and I think you missed the chance for a big pun here. How we will attack and beat altitude. Was that your guys' team, or was that the women's?
That was ours.
It was. So you really need to get the beat, like BEET in there, but that's beside the point, Coach.
Yeah.
Who is your most reluctant?
Rachel, that went over my head. So
that's like a pun, it's the pun, not like beat, like BEAT, but beat like the beet juice.
No doubt.
So who's your most reluctant beet juicer drinker?
Probably Mike Burns. He's so soft. The softest guy I know.
All right. Thank you, Coach.
Hey, Leon, how's it going?
Hey, good, Jordan.
It's pretty crazy to go look at Tyson, what he did in high school. He's going up against, Paolo Banchero and Shane Noel. Why do you think he was so under-recruited in high school?
Well, define under-recruited. I don't know what do you mean by under-recruited?
Like, he's going up against guys that have an offer from almost every Pac-12 school in the country, and or every Pac-12 school. And
why is that? That's not better than Boise State. So that's, you choose your words differently, Jordan.
Okay.
Because there lies the problem. Have you checked the rankings consistently? That, are you talking about Arizona, or are you talking about Oregon State? I mean, there's a big, so when you say Pac-12, I mean, that's the problem with people that rate things based on conferences and not on programs. And, I had 11 years of experience of that at Gonzaga. And then when someone says something like that, well, he's a Pac-12 player. Well, what does that mean? Does he mean that are you playing in Arizona? Or are you playing at Oregon State? Are you playing at, top 10? Or are you playing at, bottom 20%? So,
sure. Yeah.
When you say stuff like that, you gotta really clarify it of what you actually mean, because he was heavily recruited, and there was a lot of good programs that did recruit him. But to just throw it out as a generality of a conference, I think that's misleading, and that's like I said, I got 20 years of experience of that.
Sure.
I mean, Gonzaga, last time I checked, isn't in the Pac-12, and they're a heck of a lot better than, in the last 20 years, they've been a lot better than every team,
Yeah, sure. But just the amount of programs, I should say, in the mix, not generality on the conference.
Okay. Didn't say that.
Okay. Then then what were I know you have a lot of ties to Spokane and stuff. Why did you think that Tyson was going to be so good for your program, especially the length that you guys use with your team?
Number one, such a high character kid, and the beauty of what I got to do, having kids that play basketball, is I got a lot of exposure to Tyson from the time he was in 8th grade. And, so I got to dig deeper. Recruiting is a challenge as far as, especially, when you talk about the transfer portal and this and that, some of these transfer things are done in 3, 5, 7 days. And you can't really get to know someone or get to know the kid or his background as well as you'd like to on such a quick turnaround. And so there's, you see a lot of mistakes being made, and a lot of, you got to make assumptions and guesses and this and that. But when you get to know a kid from the time he's in 8th grade, and you get to watch him really up close, like almost as a parent, as a parent would, when you're traveling with them, when you're getting to see how they are in the hotel, and you're getting to see how they are when they don't think you're watching, and all the things that kind of the peek behind the scenes, and you get to know their parents, of the kind of people and the reputation they have. And it just gives you such a better feel and look into who you're really getting. And that's what sold me so much on Tyson at a young age, is his character, his maturity, the kind of person he is. And, that's where I was first attracted, not even because of the basketball. The basketball, when you're looking at a 8th or 9th grader, I mean, those are all question marks for you to say, well, that kid's going to be good. I mean, that's a shot in the dark one way or the other. But when you get to know the character and the work ethic, and then get to follow it through for 5 years, you really know what you're getting. And I was convinced, and then, that's also what made me be able to, bang my fist on the table and say, no, we're putting him in the starting lineup. Let's go. It's time. Because I knew the kind of kid he is. Now, did I know that he'd be completely ready as a freshman to play at the level he's playing? I mean, that's hard. And it's hard to do, in this good of a conference with this, with the kind of team we have, because we have lots of other good players. And so you just didn't know that he could have this kind of success, but you certainly bet on his character, his work ethic, the kind of guy he is, the way he makes players better around him, all those intangibles that he brings to the team.
Awesome. Thank you.
You got it. Sorry about the lecture about the way it, but I've got 20 years of having to hear that stuff. And
I should have phrased it as, number of programs who had given him an offer, and not necessarily.
But it's so true. We used to,
yeah.
We went to 5 Sweet 16s, and we were in the tournament every year, and people would still tell us, well, that kid's a Pac-12 player. I'm like, really? So he's not good enough to play for us, going to the Sweet 16 every year or whatever,
Sure.
And so it's just it's a bad stereotype that creates this, it creates a weird thing with kids sometimes in recruits.
Yeah.
It's gotten a lot better than that. Plus I think in football, it's a lot different than in basketball. Football, there's,
Sure.
100 teams. There's not that many teams. And there is probably, other than Boise State, there's a big difference between the Power Fives but in basketball, it's not like that. So
Sure.
I've had to come into a town that really understands football, but maybe it hasn't spent as much time studying basketball in some cases.
That was just Jordan's initiation as being the new guy, Leon. We've all had Leon. You've lectured us all, man.
There we go. Good. It's
Glad
not
I got it
lecture,
early.
it's just an education, and but it was funny when we were starting out, me and Mark and Billy, and man, when someone would say that to, I mean, like I said, we're coming off, Elite Eight, 4 or 5 Sweet 16s, and people would say that to us, like, "Oh, well, I think he's a Pac-12." And we're like, "Really? Okay." So and the hair on the back of our neck would go up, and we'd be ready to fight. And so, but that's how you have to be, because it's, people have to be educated to that.
Yeah. Thank you.
And when you break it down too, like where would you rather play in environments like you saw last night? Or would did anybody happen to watch the game Sunday night between Dave Southern's team and Jay Todd's team? You could have fired a cannon in there. Nobody was in there. I mean, what a difference.
We're gonna go Bob Beeler, then Will Hall.
I already went, Joe, so I think.
Then we'll go Will Hall.
All right, Will.
Hey Leon, what's
Be careful how
EK's
you
biggest?
word this.
Yeah, what's EK's biggest challenge for you guys?
He is a good player. He scores a lot of different ways. He puts a lot of foul pressure on you. So I think those two things make him so dangerous, because not only can he score points, but he can foul out a lot of your guys. So they've just done a great job with developing him, and rehabbing him back from an injury. And that's I think that's a credit to their staff. And Big Scuttle, Big Sean Vanderveer, people don't realize how good of a big guy he was. He was, I think it was Big 8 back then. Am I right, BJ? Big 8. He was player of the year in that conference. I mean, he was one of the best big guys in the country, and I'm sure he's mentoring him and teaching him a lot, and it shows. I mean, that kid's a great player.
A rare 6 days in between games, some extra rest for you guys. You feel like that's helped out?
I do. We needed it, no doubt. And because, there's a wear and tear, both physically, emotionally, when you're, and I don't know if it's me or you guys maybe feel like this too, but I swear we haven't played any games at Extra Mile. It just, you forget, like, golly, have we had 2 games in 2 months or something like that? Is that what it is? Or, that's what it seems like. So it feels like the league owes us some home games, and, but we've embraced it the right way, and then we've enjoyed it. And these guys have got it done. They've accomplished the mission every time, which is remarkable, really. I mean, to play, when you look back in hindsight, to play at Utah State on a Thursday and then have to play at San Diego State on a Saturday that's about as tough as it gets as far as home games. And then, then you come back and then you're going to Fresno, and then you come back and then you're going to Wyoming. I mean, this has been a gauntlet.
Thanks, Leon.
You got it.
Prater and Johnny.
Leon, taking charges, that's kind of become an issue with not an issue, but a good part of your basketball team the last couple of weeks. And certainly Tyson has become very good at it and was really good at it the other day. Somebody, I think it was Marcus earlier today, mentioned something about the refs might be calling it differently. I don't know if they're calling, the call itself differently, and you guys are just trying to take advantage of that. Is any accuracy to the way the refs are calling that play this year?
It's, there's always an inconsistency in that play because it's so hard. It is, it's hard to officiate. It's hard to teach kids now with the way the rules are, because, in the old days, you'd kind of, if you were in position, you'd kind of, okay, now you got to go down before you get hit because you don't want to get killed. And, like, now they make you stand in more. I mean, it's a dangerous play, and it can be brutal, but you can't just let the offense go through guys. And so it really is officiated game to game differently. And so you got to figure out what the crew that you have is going to look for and how they're going to officiate it, and what to charge to them. And, you talk about it, look at the Wyoming, New Mexico game at Wyoming, it ended on that play. And now, you can watch that thing and you can debate it. And I'm not sure if you know what the right call is, even if you watch it in slow motion. And I think if you talked to 100 officials, you'd get, 50-50 charge, block. I don't know. So that's what makes it so difficult is how it's being called and how it's such a bang bang play and all the variables that go into it. But we've got some great offensive players in this league, and to try to neutralize them and not allow them to just go through guys, you got to be willing to give up your body, and it's an unselfish play, and it's a big play. And Tyson certainly made a bunch of them at Fresno. They were huge, and I thought, looking back on them, I thought every one was the correct call, and it wasn't even close on those ones. But again, I'm biased, but it did look like, by letter of the law, those were definitely charges. And and people have done that to Abu quite a bit. And sometimes I think they're good calls. Sometimes sometimes he looks like a bowling ball knocking over all 10 pins. That was a strike. I think you have to call that a charge. But there's other times where I'm like, the guy just jumps in front of him, and how does that become a legal guarding position? But it's a tough, as a referee, it's a tough one, man. That's a hard call, and games really swing on the balance of those calls. And even last night, you saw two of them to the two of the two best players on the court, and they go whack whack, and you're like, well, I think they looked both right to me. I don't know.
How much do you coach that in practice? It doesn't sound like, according to your players, there's a lot of drills. Maybe that just comes naturally if it's inside a guy's DNA. And how much do you track it, and how much do you practice it?
What's funny about that is that goes way back in my coaching days. And, as a young coach, I probably would have made them, hey, let's do the charge drill. Let's line up. Let's, take charge of practice. And I coached with an old guy named Dean Nicholson, and he wouldn't allow it at practice. And I was like, as a young gung-ho coach, I'm like, oh, these guys got to be tough. They got to, he goes, no, we don't want that. He goes, what always happens is your 14th guy is taking a charge on your best player, and there's a big collision every day in practice. And that, I think he had some experience with that, where he lost a good player to something like that. So we don't even allow it in practice. It's like, like football, not letting them hit the quarterback. We'll tell our guys, get in position to get the charge and then get out of the way. So you got to be in the right position, but we don't want those collisions and, in practice, and you'll hear me say that a lot of practice. Let him go, because you can see them coming sometimes. But we show film on it. We talk about it. We teach. At the start of the year, we teach the right way, because you got to learn how to go down. You got to learn how to fall without hurting yourself. I've seen guys stick out their arms backwards and land and break a wrist, and and you got to remember, the guys you're taking charges on, like Robinson and EK, Robinson in the last game, and that guy's 260 pounds. I mean, you're getting tackled by that guy on a hard court. I mean, think about that. That's a courageous play, and it's a big play. And so it means a lot to this team. And, but as far as, having drills set up to practice it, no, we have drills set up to be in the position to do it, and then have the courage and the toughness to be able to do it in a game.
It's the kind of stat that doesn't really show up in the stat book, but when it does happen, and when it happens a lot, like it did the other night, and it happens at the right time, how big of a momentum play is that?
It's huge, because, the guy with the ball is usually one of their better players, and he's going to the hoop, and it puts a foul on him and changes, it can frustrate good players, and it's hard, like with Abu, you don't want to take away his ability to drive, and it's hard to be a good driver if you're cautious. So you really got to make yourself keep evolving as a player to make yourself better, to know when the charges would come, how to avoid the charges, when's the best time to drive, when you have space to do it. And I mean, so that also makes it a big play, because you take one on a good player. Now he's wondering, like, God, if I try on this one, they might call another one on me, and that can change a game.
Thanks, Leon.
Yep.
Hey, Leon, I'll stay on Prater's topic on taking charges. Do you guys, I mean, it seems like certain players are willing to do it when others maybe aren't as willing. Is
Yeah.
that some-
And there's certain guys, there's some guys where, if the guy is maybe a shot blocker or he's not going to maybe be the huge charge taker. And then there's other guys that maybe God didn't give them the best verticality but their talent defensively, like might be that ability to get in front of the ball, know where the ball's going and be able to take charges on that. And, there's some guys that just have that knack and that ability to get to the right spot and do it. And it is there. I've seen guys that are just, hey, that guy's just naturally good at taking charges and this guy's not, so it's almost player to player.
And finally, for me, Derek Alston Jr. is ripping up the G League right now.
Oh.
He's at like 20-7 a night, Leon, shooting really well too. Have you talked to him? What's his confidence level, right? That maybe he's going to have a chance to play in the NBA sometime.
Well, that's what I always said. I haven't talked to him recently, but I've always said that his best basketball is in front of him. I mean, he's still maturing. He's, a lot of these guys, they were great players when they were 8, 9, 10, 11. I mean, he was still growing. That's what he said one time to our team when we were talking about our history and stuff. And he was like, you guys were all stars in junior high and high school. He goes, I wasn't that kid, I was still growing and so he's just going to keep getting better, keep improving. And you watch when he's 27, 28, 29, that's going to be his best basketball. And there's going to still be a big jump. So teams would be smart to, that guy's he's got a huge upside. Because, when you think of upside, you usually think of 16, 17, 18-year-olds. Oh, that guy's got a huge upside. But his story is so unique that he's going to be one of those guys that even at 23, he has a huge upside.
Yeah. Thanks, man. I remember you saying that about the best basketball is still way ahead of him. And,
it really is. And that's what he's starting to prove. That's it's not just potential. He's getting stuff done.
All right, BJ, you had a quick one. Follow up.
Yeah, Leon, it's after the Wyoming game. It's 3 in a row at home, 5 out of 6 at home, and you finish with 6 of 9 at home because of the Colorado State game getting added in. What do you make of that game being on Super Bowl Sunday?
Well, it's a great, have they announced the time yet?
Time has not been announced
You
yet.
can tell us if you'd like.
Can I, Joe? Can I,
No,
Joe?
we cannot tell them the time yet.
Well, you cannot. Can you allude, I guess, to whether or not it'll interfere with the game? I
We
think
can
that's fair
allude to the
say.
fact that we will tell you when the time is coming. When
I
we're allowed
think
to
you can be generic about it, that it won't interfere
I
with
think
the
I
game.
can be generic about it. Can I, Joe?
Yeah.
I will say this, as a football guy, and I would never, ever I would do everything I can in my power to not interfere at all with the Super Bowl and the fans that want to watch the Super Bowl. I think we can have one of the best sport days in Boise by understanding that and hopefully that this whole city gets behind that day and has a great experience at the Boise State game and enjoys themselves and goes and celebrates by watching the Super Bowl. That was pretty generic, huh, Joe?
I'd have cut it a minute earlier, but I think it was pretty good.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I appreciate you. We're going to tape our coaches show. So if you guys need anything else, give me a shout. I'll send out the recording.